Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a character that proves that being small in stature doesn't mean that you can't accomplish great things. Of course, we mean the character known as Tom Thumb, or Thomas Thompson, from the Marvel Universe on a team called the Squadron Supreme. Now, Thomas Thompson was born as a dwarf on Earth 712. Although he lacked strength physically, he was incredibly intelligent and possibly one of the smartest on his Earth in this particular universe. Now, at an unknown age, he started to fight crime using devices and inventions which he had invented himself. Now, Tom Thumb was created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema and first appeared in the Avengers number 85 alongside the majority of the Squadron Supreme, and at that time they were on the parallel Earth 712. Now, after he joins the Squadron Supreme, Tom presumably spent most of his time with them, as he didn't seem to have any friends or family outside of that team. And although he seemed to be the team's most intelligent member, he also had plenty of devices to help out in fights that became physical, notably a small flying vehicle that was equipped with various types of weaponry. Now, Tom was present during the team's first meeting with the Avengers, in which the Avengers, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Goliath/Hawkeye, and Quicksilver, were accidentally transported to Earth 712 after a fight with Archon, and attacked the Squadron Supreme, mistaking them for the Squadron Sinister of their own world. Now, Tom was actually able to put up a pretty decent fight against the Avengers until he was defeated by Vision. Now, at some point, Tom helped design and build the Squadron Supreme's orbiting satellite headquarters, in addition to the computer Ada, a sentient computer. The third time that the Squadron interacted with the heroes from Earth 616, it wasn't the Avengers that they faced, but the Defenders. This time, the Squadron were being controlled by the Overmind and Null the Living Darkness, who devastated the Earth with the Squadron under their control. Now, once the Defenders had helped the Squadron free themselves, this left the Squadron with a problem. Their planet was more or less left as a post-apocalyptic state. Now, with Earth being in such a devastated state, Princess Power suggested that the Squadron attempt to make it into a utopia. And now, after some discussion, all of the Squadron had agreed, with the exception of Nighthawk, who left the team as a result. As the team's resident genius, Tom was behind many of the operations of the team and designed many of the devices which the team used on a day-to-day basis, such as the force field belts which protected them from bullets. Now, later on, Tom was asked by his teammate Nuke to find a cure for cancer after Nuke found out that his parents were dying of cancer that he accidentally spread to them as a result of his own powers. Now, after making a containment suit for Nuke so that he wouldn't accidentally contaminate anyone else, Tom spent weeks trying everything he could before confessing to Nuke that he simply couldn't do it. Upon Nuke flying into a rage, Tom traveled to the Scarlet Centurion's time and attempted to find a cure for cancer. Unfortunately for him, the Centurion would only agree to give the cure if Tom poisoned Hyperion and weakened him enough for the Centurion to defeat him. Seeing the price was too high, Tom just refused. Now, once he told Nuke again that he had failed to find a cure, Nuke quit the Squadron out of anger. Unknown to Nuke, however, Tom had found something out about his own self during his research. He himself had cancer and only had a number of months to live. Now, after Tom discovering this about himself, Tom divided his time between searching for a cure, and even though he expected it was pointless, he was still working on more inventions for the Squadron at that time. Now, he purposefully didn't tell anyone other than Ada, the sentient computer he created, as he didn't want anyone worrying about him. Tom soon came to invent one of his most controversial inventions for the Utopia principle. the behavior modifier, or B-Modder. Now, this device allows a user to modify another person's brainwaves so that a criminal could potentially have their criminal nature removed. However, it had one major downside. Once a person had been B-modded, the process was irreversible. Now, around this time, Tom also invented a gun which subdued his targets by stimulating the pleasure centers of the brain. He essentially made an orgasmo gun. Now, after Lady Lark suddenly started acting more romantic towards Golden Archer, Tom suspected that Golden Archer had maybe used a B-modded on her. Now, because of this, Tom builds a failsafe so that no member of the squadron could be B-modded themselves. This proved fortuitous when the squadron's enemies, the Institute of Evil, found out about the B-modder and actually tried B-modding the squadron. The squadron were actually able to defeat the Institute by pretending to be B-modded and then attacking them unexpectedly. Now, shortly after, Blue Eagle accused Golden Archer of B-modding Lady Lark, which the Archer admitted to as he was sick of her overbearing attention and felt guilty for doing so. This was the final straw for Amphibian, who had already had reservations about the Utopia principle, and Amphibian destroys the B-modders when no one was looking, before leaving the squadron for good. Now later on, Tom was working with Ape-X and Ada when he started coughing violently as a result of his cancer. When Ape-X questioned it, he admitted that he had it, but didn't want her making a fuss. After finding out all of the different types of research and cures which Tom had attempted, Ape-X suggested that Tom steal the Scarlet Centurion's cure for cancer and use it, and then return it back. Tom reluctantly decided that he could justify this, and so traveled into the future with Lamprey as backup, but not telling him of their mission. However, after their adventure in the future seemed successful, Tom then finds out shortly after that the cure for cancer was nothing more than some antibiotics and some vitamins. Devastated to find out that he actually correctly guessed that in the future the people of that time had a greater immune system than those of the people today, Tom decided to live out the rest of his life as best as he could before succumbing to his disease and dying 1 week later. Now, prior to his death, he had created a device called a hibernaculum, which was intended to cryogenically freeze someone so that if they had any diseases currently, they could be placed into one until a cure could be found in the future. Although he was considered dead, Ape-X and Ada were briefly seen working on a robotic version of Tom. Now, whether this was intended as a replacement for him or for his brain to be uploaded into it later on is quite unknown. Whatever the case, it was never completed. Now, as far as powers and abilities go, Tom didn't really have any superpowers, although he was very naturally gifted with intelligence. We would even say somewhere a tier below Dr. Doom level, as he was able to actually use time-traveling devices and various anti-gravity devices. He was mainly skilled in the areas of computer science, medicine, psychology, force field technology, and spacecraft design. He possessed PhDs in mathematics, physics, and also electrical engineering. He is seen to be riding in a one-man flying vehicle and uses a force field belt for personal protection. He had designed and used many diverse weapons. One was the pacifier pistol, which would stimulate the pleasure centers of an opponent and pretty much incapacitate them. A ultravox modulator device, which would stimulate the sleep centers of the brain and make them fall asleep. A neuron scrambler, which caused a numbing sensation once it hit a living target. A personal flying mini-craft with several computers and weapons mounted within its frame. His most impressive creation, however, was Ada, his personal sentient computer. Anyway, this is what we know of Tom Thumb. We think this character is a wonderful addition to any group, It's really neat to find a character that is nearly, or if not, on the same level as Reed Richards or Doctor Doom, maybe even on a lower level with Dr. Ock or Tony Stark. Anyway, folks, you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful evening, whichever. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that. Also, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of this video, as well as maybe write down a character that you would like to hear about, and we'll see if we can't make a video of it. As always, Excelsior.